What's going on, everyone? JayzTwoCents here, and welcome to my continued coverage of Computex 2017, my first year covering Computex, and boy has it been a culture shock. So we're gonna talk about some of that, guys, but this is my last night here in the city. I'm actually leaving a little bit early because, believe it or not, my birthday's in a couple of days and I want to spend it with my family. As much as I am enjoying visiting Asia, I'd like to spend my birthday with friends and family. So yeah, but I'm still a little bit jet lagged and I'm starting to feel really drowsy, so if I slur my words, I'm not drunk. Kind of wish I was, but I'm not. But I'm leaving bright and early tomorrow morning, and I only had today to kind of see the rest of what I wanted to see. So instead of doing videos on site, we just did like a run and gun and shot a lot of B-roll, and I'm gonna kind of show you that as I talk about various things today. So let's go ahead and kick some things off here. We looked at InWins. A couple of things we took a look at there. They've got some wooden cases, which are pretty neat looking. Now, they're very elegant. InWins has always been one of those brands that are all about like function and form, but definitely form without sacrificing too much in terms of function. But these new cases that are, I don't even know what kind of wood they are. I'm assuming it's some kind of a pine. It's definitely a plywood of some sort. There's multiple plies to this wood, but the grain looks very, very good. I don't know what kind of stain they're using, but it's a very light stain. Just with the, coupled with the white, man, it looks really, really good. They also had their CaseBot on hand, which is a computer that you control with both movement and verbal commands. And Nick actually stood in the dome thing and was controlling the PC and had it take a picture by using nothing more than just hand gestures and his voice. So that was pretty neat to take a look at. InWins always has some of like the craziest things to show off. But we also checked out what ASUS was showing again at the ROG booth because there was some stuff that wasn't on display when we were there yesterday. Now, last night they actually held their keynote. Jensen came out and spoke about their collaborative efforts with creating a notebook featuring the new 1080 Max-Q GPU, which is not a full-blown GTX 1080, but it's stronger than like what the mobile series used to be in the past. Has a much smaller footprint, much less TDP, or much lower TDP, allowing them to have a very slim form factor notebook. But also too, Acer Predator also has the 1080 Max-Q in their new slim notebook too. So obviously slim is like the trend right now. And with that, cooling is actually very, very difficult to maintain. So the Zephyrus Notebook from ASUS ROG, it's a really interesting name, Zephyrus. They've got some real, like, I don't know if they're Greek names or what. We got Gladius and Claymore and now Zephyrus, so obviously there's a theme there. But this notebook has got some pretty neat features. Now, the keyboard is actually all the way pushed to the edge of the notebook, which is actually very nice because then when you're typing, it's more like typing on a regular keyboard. Your palms are a little bit lower and it's very ergonomic. When you type on a typical keyboard where your hands are kind of half on the keyboard tray, sometimes it could push onto your wrist and cause some numbness. I actually experienced that with some notebooks, so that was nice to see. But also too, cooling. Cooling is a major issue when it comes to gaming notebooks, and when you open the lid on the Zephyrus, the bottom actually pushes down. It's part of the hinge, and then it creates a bigger gap for more airflow, and then when you close the lid, it all seals up. So it's a nice little feature there, and very ingenuitive. There's a lot of ingenuity. I'm bad at words. Now, speaking of cult brands like Republic of Gamers, let's go ahead and talk about Corsair. Corsair's got a couple of really neat things. Actually, they have a lot of things on display. Now, like you might have already seen on some other channels, they've got their concept slate. A lot of what they were showing, they're calling concept because they're not available yet and there's going to be some tweaking involved before they actually come to market. But I'm going to talk about concept slate real quick. It is a very, very large chassis. So far, it's one of the largest chassis I've seen, if not the largest chassis, dwarfing my Case Labs case, dwarfing my old Obsidian 900D, and possibly even dwarfing the Phanteks Elite. It is of course, a tempered glass case, but it's kind of like a double wide. You can actually fit two 480mm radiators in push-pull, so that's already insane, side by side. And then you can still fit a 480 on top, which is absolutely crazy. They've got these pull-out trays where the tray slides out on it's very similar to like a drawer hinge or a roller hinge that you find on a drawer or a cabinet. So they pull out, you can attach your radiators and fans to it and then push it back in, so making working on the case and building it out a whole lot easier. Now, it's also a dual system chassis, so you can fit an ITX system in the bottom of it. It's got PCIe riser cards, that way you can see the face of your GPU, making it look nice and pretty. Same thing with the main system. You can actually rotate and move the PCIe support brackets to either support like a riser card where you can see the face of the GPUs or mount them traditionally. They actually have a lot of cable management in mind with this as well, where the system on the bottom, or the ITX system, is still hiding away the wires, where unfortunately one of the things I didn't like about the Phanteks Elite was the ITX system, or the second system, was sort of an afterthought, and the cable management was really difficult to maintain with the second system in there. Now, unlike the Phanteks Elite, when this chassis is empty, it weighs about 40 pounds, whereas the chassis for the Phanteks Elite is around 70 pounds. I think it's like 72 pounds empty. It's absolutely insane on how heavy some of these chassis can get. The one we're looking at here that was fully built out though, with these push-pull giant rads side by side, tons of liters of fluid, dual systems, was actually 125 pounds. Guys, I'm sorry, I don't know what that is in kilos, but the tempered glass side panel doors swing open. They're on a really nice hinge. You can just lift it off, and there's obviously way more than enough room than anybody would ever need to build a regular system. So be prepared to pack a lot of components in there to fill this out and not have it feel just completely empty and like an echo chamber, because it just won't look good unless you're filling this up with radiators and tubing and reservoirs and RGB and all kinds of crap. Now, something else I was really eager to take a look at Corsair was their new lineup of open loop water cooling parts. Now, they've actually teamed up with Aqua Computer for their blocks, and there's also a reservoir, which initially concerned me because Aqua Computer, made in Germany, is a very premium product that has a price tag that definitely represents the level of premium. It's some of the most expensive water cooling parts you can buy, but they use nothing but like tempered glass on their GPU covers. Their reservoirs are glass, so they definitely have an amazing quality to them, but also an amazing price tag. Now, Corsair assures me their pricing is going to be competitive. But the GPU block is a full cover. It looks good. It's got a nice hefty weight to it, but that's because obviously it is a copper nickel plated block with a glass faceplate on it. So no plexi, it's actually glass, and it's very, very weighty. And then a brushed aluminum backplate, which is mostly aesthetics. I don't see anywhere where it actually touches the GPU to transfer any sort of heat to the plate, giving you greater surface area. So it's definitely more of an aesthetic backplate, but it looks really nice. Now, the fittings and stuff, they're still tweaking. Part of the problem is the Corsair sail logo, which they have on the fittings, are gold, and it kind of clashes with the black fittings, which is maybe not such a bad thing though, because Bits Power has been putting gold logos on their black fittings for years, and people still buy them. I still get them. There's no real clash there, but they are telling me they're kind of tweaking with some of the logo designs until they get something that they really like. Now, an honorable mention product that Corsair was actually showing off is their K68 keyboard. Now, it's a lower end keyboard in their K series, which is still kind of like their top tier series of keyboards, but the K68 is actually featuring water resistance. Now, it is still a mechanical key, but it does not have RGB lighting. It's a static lighting, different lighting modes, obviously, but it's not an RGB product. But you obviously have cherry mechanical switches in there, but the water resistance is kind of nice. They have a display where they were just kind of showing water being continuously poured and dripped on top of this keyboard, and it wasn't shorting out or having any problems whatsoever. So now you can kind of play games or eat at your desk and not have to worry about tipping a cup over inside of your keyboard and shorting it out. Now, that pretty much wraps up my coverage here for Computex 2017. Guys, Taipei is an amazing city. Asia, so far, what I've seen of Taiwan, is absolutely phenomenal. The culture here, the people are so nice, and my God, you would think that they'd be all crashing into each other with all these scooters and taxis and stuff, but no, they've got a system here and it seems to work for them. Man, where some of these taxi rides, literally I felt like putting up my hands and just yelling "wee" as we were going, because it was like a roller coaster ride. But man, I just gotta say, you can expect to see me here in Computex again. This was a phenomenal experience that I definitely do not want to pass up, and I'd like to extend my stay a little bit more next time, but part of the problem is that my birthday is always going to fall on the same week as Computex. But I've had an absolute blast for the last 5 days checking out what Taipei has to offer, and guys, a huge thank you to your support watching these videos. I know there's lots of channels putting up content, and it means a lot to me that you guys keep coming back to see what it's like from my perspective. So I'm gonna go, guys. Again, one last shout out, a huge thank you to EVGA, my sole sponsor, sponsoring all of my coverage here and setting us up and getting us out here and flying Nick and I to Taipei, halfway around the world, to bring you guys this coverage. So again, thanks to all of you, thanks to EVGA, and we will see you next year at Computex 2018. That's not, but you'll see me again before that. It's just, I won't be back at Computex till then. Anyway, I'm tired. I'm gonna go now, guys. Thanks for watching.